tight. It's kind of,
Powered by Riverside.
It's tight.
To John, boys.
All right, three guys, many games. Post St. Patrick's Day. That's for the Irishman, for Smalley, the Irishman.
There you go.
St. Patrick's Day. How we doing? I'm Steve Sombrato. I'm here with the Irishman,
Rob Smalley.
And the GOAT, Vinny Sombrato.
Here we go.
We're back. We got another great week of lacrosse to discuss. What do you got, Smalls?
I remember Vinny. Did I play on 2 world teams or only 1, Vin?
I thought you were on 3. Only 2? Only 2?
Yeah. I played on the 1982 the world team, right? Was I first team or second team All-American?
I think you well, from what I remember, you were on the line with your Levittown buddy Mike Page, God rest his soul, and Bobby Henriksen, Hondo, the great Hondo. And
I was on that. Whoa, what a line that was!
What a line
for a guy that never played much.
One thing he's not in first place anymore in the picks.
The fans.
So
oh my God!
The fans have taken over. The fans are officially 3 games ahead. I'm like 12 games behind the fans. He's like 3 games behind the fans.
I prayed just to beat you 2 clowns.
And Vinny's like,
you 2 clowns.
I made up some ground on you this week.
You did. You guys made up ground. Stevens, if he wins,
I'm making the charge, but it's just so odd because, there's a lot of controversy. There's been complaints lodged. Smalley's manipulating the system.
Yeah.
This week it's the first week he picked first, and he went 4 and 9.
Yeah, exactly. The first time he went first, and he ended up
last.
Time. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
So
you read into it.
We'll live with the results. We're not going to complain.
We have to live with it. We have to live with it.
We live with
Well, you know who else has to live with the results? All the teams that played, last weekend, they got to live with a lot of results, and there was some interesting games, let's talk a little bit about that Maryland, the number 1 team taking on Virginia. You had that game. It's Maryland on the road. Virginia needs a bounce back, and Maryland looks dominant again, and the goalie just looks spectacular, and they look like a juggernaut.
What was the final score, Steve?
12-6.
Yeah, well, they sprinted out to a 5-0 lead, and Virginia chopped back into that. I think they held, which was kind of surprising. They held Maryland scoreless for, I think, almost 20 minutes. Something like that. They went a long stretch without scoring, but then they got it together in the 4th quarter and put them away. So, look, those are things, I guess, from a coaching standpoint, Coach Tillman will look at and see how they, what happened there.
Well, they're heading in. Maryland's heading in now. Maryland has finished their non-conference schedule at this point.
Is that it? So really? They go into the Big Ten now?
Yeah, they play Michigan on Saturday, and then they run through all of the Big Ten teams, which is obviously you got Michigan, you got Penn State, you got Ohio State, you got Hopkins, so they got some very tough games ahead of them.
Yeah.
It never gets easier for them, but they look up to any challenge. They look like they're, Virginia, on the other hand, what are your thoughts now? Just to give a little update, there's a score in. Virginia played today.
Albany.
They beat Albany 12-0, so they got a W, back on track, but that's down at Virginia at home with Albany, and is that an impressive or not an impressive looking game for them at this point? What do you say to that, Smalls?
Well, I say a win is a win. Give them a little spark. They still have great players. They catch another win. They knock off a top 5 team, and they could be, sneaking into the playoffs. They're very talented, like that. They got a lot of good kids. If that Balsamo kid can catch fire in a wind, then you surge at the end. It's all about surging at the end of the season if they start playing.
They got to play Utah next, Virginia, another home game. Then they get Syracuse at home.
They knock off Syracuse. That's a huge win.
When they go at Carolina, at Notre Dame, they play Lafayette and Duke at home. Yeah. So,
Me personally, I think they're going to I think they win against Utah and Lafayette, but honestly, I could see them going over in the ACC.
I had the
They
what
might
was how
play
many
some
weeks
close
ago?
games, but I'm not sure they're going to win any of those games.
How many weeks ago did I say is it a potential to them to be around 500 or maybe even below 500,
Yeah.
which would be
You said
unusual
that.
for
You
them.
said that.
So they're on pace with that. But like Beardsley had said, when you do play all of those good teams, at least the opportunity is on your plate
Of
to
course.
go out
Yes.
and win. That's the schedule ultimately helps you. You do or die, on how you play, and is your team progressing? Are you getting better every week? They have all of the studs out there. It's
They got
just
all
whether
the
or not
pieces.
they
Come
put it
on.
together.
On
They got
paper, they're the second, third most talented team. If you go by paper and what they have on paper,
I don't know. I think a lot of that paper is paper. I think there's players I'm seeing on other teams,
I like that.
the
Paper is
Richmonds,
paper.
the
paper is paper, right, Vinny?
the Richmonds, some of the Ohio States, these teams just look better this year. They look stronger to me.
You
I
got
think,
teams like
I think,
Colgate knocking
yeah,
teams off too.
yeah, and then they got beat. They give up a lot of goals. They score,
Yeah,
but
they
they
lost.
give up a lot.
They
That
lost
was,
to Bucknell.
yeah, that
Can
was
I jump in here with one statement for somebody, which we did overlook? I got a lot of blame last week, and I'd like to blame you two clowns, but
Whoa,
I'll take the
slow down.
weight.
Slow down. Don't start with blaming and clowns and all your nonsense. Who blamed you, first of all? I want to hear who
No,
blamed
hold
you.
on a second. Let me get it out first. Penn State, we haven't talked about. You guys were a little guilty of that. Now they're in second place, and they're a team to be reckoned with. I mean, they moved up the ladder, and I got to give them credit. Mr. Ferrone, the hot dog man who cooks into all the games. What's his first name? Jim
Well, first of
Ferrone?
all, we talked about Penn State. We talked about the tremendous comeback they had over Cornell, an unlikely comeback that with the 2-minute penalty. We talked all about that.
And
Believe
they've
me.
and they've won like 7 in a row since
Yeah.
they lost that
Well,
first game.
we did talk about it, but we didn't highlight it like we highlight the other teams and stuff. But I think, listen, if Ohio State is this week. We did get invited to the games. I told Ferrone we got basketball season still going on. He said, we'll give you guys hot dogs. We'll give you everything. I said, but I got St. John's. How do I miss me and the GOAT? Me and Vinny are going to St. John's this whole weekend. My God, to see Patino.
That's another story. That's a whole nother story.
All right. So anyway, I think Penn State is for real. I don't think it's a hoax that they're in second. And you look at 2 or 3 weeks, they'll be rated number 1 in the country after they beat after Maryland.
I don't see them beating up on Maryland, but I think they're a very tough team. Obviously, you win a game like they did against Cornell, it shows a lot of resilience. It shows an ability to be down and get off the mat. Well, this guy's picking his nose. What are you doing?
So
He does it for the fans.
Steven, does this Riverside have any kind of criteria? Are we going to get thrown off from Riverside?
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Vinny, that was funny. I'll give you that was funny. That was very funny.
Penn State's test, playing Ohio State this week. Ohio State is a big, strong.
This is
team.
a great game. That's a great game. Look, there's plenty of good games coming up, and like you referred to Rick saying, when they're playing each other, there's going to be teams with losses. You could have 3-4 losses and still be in the hunt with this thing. It's going to be like we talked about. It's like, I know Smalls is in basketball mode. Duke looked like they're cruising along, and then Cooper Flag goes up, gets a rebound, comes down, hits a guy's foot.
Down, he got hurt, yeah.
Ankle. We don't know where he's at. Will they make their run through the NCAA without him, or is he going to be back? Is he going to Is he going to be 50%?
You're right. Injuries play a role. Vinny always says that.
But in lacrosse, I always say, you 1 or 2 guys, 1 or 2 key injuries, and your team changes drastically.
Well, Penn State is 2, Ohio State is 9. I could from my eye test, and I will say I saw Ohio State a little bit more than Penn State. I could easily see those rankings be reversed because Ohio State looked very, very good to me.
I think if Ohio State is able to beat Penn State, you said it's at Penn State, right?
It's at Penn State.
They can beat them at Penn State. I don't know what's going to happen with some of these other teams who's maybe playing, the other top 5 teams. but I think they could zoom up a little bit.
Well, they're not going to zoom up. Who, Penn State?
No, Ohio State.
Oh, Ohio State.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, they definitely could move
yeah. I
up.
mean,
I definitely
if
think they
they
would
beat
move
the
up.
number 2 team, I think you got to consider them right up there.
They'll move right up to like fourth or
Yeah,
fifth.
top 3 or 4.
I agree with you.
I would put them in,
I agree with you, Vinny.
depending on how the game goes. But look, I'm no expert. I think maybe I think I am, but just
You're
picking
the GOAT, Vinny. Come on, you're the GOAT.
these games shows you, what the hell do I know? All these teams, I don't know who shows up from game to game. I try to figure out what kind of style teams play, where they got an advantage, whatever. But it's really something how I mean, look, I was a little surprised that I thought Cornell handled Princeton pretty easily. I thought that would be a tighter game. They won.
If Penn State beats this team, I'll tell you right now, I'm going to make a prediction right now. If I see Penn State win by like more than 7 against Ohio State,
I'm shocked if they could do that.
I say Penn State's going to go to the Final Four because that's a legitimate win. If they win by 7 or more, I say Penn State, they're for real. They're tough. They're as tough as them. They're going to the Final Four. I'm going to have to knock somebody else out of the Final Four. I'm going to say I hate to do it. Where can I go wrong?
Well, let me ask you this, Smalls, because it was about this time last year that you submarined them. Quietly, Army is just chugging along.
Yeah.
They're undefeated again. They have a real challenge this week. They got to play BU, and that'll be a tough game. BU is a very good team.
No, they always play tight games with Army. Look, I looked at Army's rest of their schedule. They got Carolina on the schedule. That's an out-of-conference game that'll maybe be a telltale thing, but they don't give up goals. They got a very good face-off guy. They got an excellent goalie. They got a strong – I think they're giving up fewest goals in the country,
Yeah.
You got a buddy there, AJ Pilot, doing a phenomenal job. He's tough.
Say it again, Vinny. AJ who?
Yeah, AJ Pilot.
I love that name. I love it.
Vin, they're doing it so quietly. They're doing it,
Yeah, you're right.
Because the truth is, they're doing it quietly because they're not playing big name teams. Their schedule is a bit. Their schedule, in all honesty, their schedule is kind of soft. If you probably, go at the end of the year when it comes down to, that RPI and all of that kind of stuff, they could lose 1 or 2 games and end up out of the whole thing if they don't win their conference. Because what quality wins are they going to have?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, you're right.
So when you Maryland, come on, they could afford to lose 3 games. I mean, come on, look at the teams they play. They're not ducking anybody. They away games up in the dome. They're playing, all these teams that are so tough, and yet they're winning. They beat Princeton at Princeton. They beat Syracuse at Syracuse. I mean, they're a tough team.
They beat Virginia at Virginia.
Yeah, I mean, come on. They're traveling well. That's one of the things, when you want to talk about. Cuse had an easy win tonight. I think they held the team to 2 goals. I think it was like 18-2 or something like that they won tonight.
Right.
But, they're playing in the dome again. When they're playing, let's see how they're going to travel. They'll get into a little bit of their traveling. They went out to Utah and won fairly easy, I think, right?
Right.
But I'm talking.
I got to give credit to the coaching staff for, believe it or not, over at Syracuse. Maybe we like to think they struggled on a few games. Okay, they did. They bit the apple, struggled. I thought the coaching staff, if you go back and if you think things don't matter about coaching and you think coaching just replies in the game that you're playing, how about when you're scheduling teams, maybe your team is a little immature or whatever, and you schedule, I think I got to give whoever does the coaching and picking the games, I think Syracuse did a miraculous job how they spread it out. Because like I said, I see them play a lot of games in the beginning. They actually play more games than anybody in the beginning, and then they kind of slow. Am I right about that?
Yeah.
Well, but they have the ability to go inside.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
They can knock some games out of the box early because they have the ability to go in the dome.
I think they weathered the storm. Tell you the truth, I think they're right.
I don't think the storm is hit yet. I mean, they get into the meat of their schedule in the ACC with Notre Dame, Carolina, Duke, and they still got all that to come. That's ahead of them. So we'll see what they're made of with those teams. I think they could play with anybody. I think they're talented. I think they're, a very strong team. But, this season, look, don't count out a team. St. Joe's beat UPenn tonight by a goal.
Yeah,
What?
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
Get
St.
the
Joe's,
freak out of here.
they're a tough
But
team.
is that more indicative of the progression of St. Joe's or the regression of Penn?
Oh, I think
No,
Penn's still a solid team, but I think St. Joe's. I was watching a little of their
you
game.
got players,
They had
Steven.
some monsters. I saw some defensive guys standing there on the sideline. These guys look like they were 6'5", 6'6", big guys.
Well, here's just Penn, and not to take any shot at them, but it looks like they've lost to maybe who you think they could lose to, and they've won against who you think they should win. They got losses against Georgetown, North Carolina, Duke, and St. Joe's now, and they've got wins over Brown, Villanova, Delaware, and Albany.
Yeah, they don't have any real quality wins themselves.
Okay.
But they lose. They lost to 4. You need at least one of those, I don't know, signature wins they call them, whatever. You need one of those. But at the end of the day, the out everybody or most teams have, if you bring these conferences, is to win your conference. If you get that bite at the apple, make your conference tournament, and you can win it, you get an AQ. And then
I got a question for Steven. What matchup right now? I'm just saying, right now, if you were going to put two teams in the finals that you think right now, we're halfway through the season, what two teams would you put as the two best teams that you would like to see right now? Who are the two best teams in the game right now?
To me, I'm still, even though they lost a couple times, I'm still high on Notre Dame and obviously Maryland. I would say Notre Dame, Maryland, throw the rematch out there again. I think it's not going to be so easy it doesn't mean they're going to make it there. They can get knocked off. Any of the teams, when you get down to the quarterfinals, these teams are strong. I'm telling you, Ohio State wouldn't surprise me as knocking on the door of certainly deep in the quarterfinals or potentially even a Final Four
And just
team
bust somebody
as an
off.
outside sleeper because they've got like big-bodied men. They're strong.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
they're
it's a big, strong team.
They're good.
You know?
No, they're good. They're playing physical.
I got to see them. I haven't really.
I got to tell you, I could easily see, to me, there are probably 10 teams that could make the Final Four.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't be shocked. I could go, I think 1 through 10 could be in the Final Four.
Is Colgate one of them?
Wrapping
I don't
out the
think
top.
Colgate, I don't put Colgate in that category, no.
Yeah,
Wow.
they dropped to 18, but wrapping out the top 5.
Yeah, I don't put Virginia in that category.
Well, I think you just named it right now. You said the 10 teams. Could they be in the Final Four? Maryland, Penn State, Army, Cornell, North Carolina, Princeton, Notre Dame, Duke, Ohio State, and Syracuse.
Yeah,
That's the 10.
I could see any of those 4 out of those 10 being in the Final Four.
Yeah.
Vinny, question for Vinny. Vinny, give me right now, if you had to pick, as the season's always halfway, who would you give higher RPI or whatever that is? Syracuse or the Ivy League Cornell? Who's better playing right now, in your opinion?
That's not an opinion. That's like they have a formula for that. So I don't know the exact formula, but as it gets down the end of the year, they'll show it. But if you wanted to ask me, if you're asking me who looks like they're playing a stronger schedule,
Like, who would you pick to win that game? Because they are playing in 1 week, isn't it true?
a couple of weeks, yeah, they're playing down here on the island. I think that's going to be a great game. I think it's a very good matchup. I could see, wasn't it last year that Cornell came back and won that game? Syracuse was ahead, and then Cornell came back, won by a goal.
That was up at Cornell.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember they came back and won that game. That was was it at Cornell? I thought it might have been at Syracuse.
No, it was at Cornell.
It was?
Yeah, it was snowing. It was like cold and it was like snowy at the end of the game.
Yeah, that was a great comeback. I mean, those teams historically, they battle all the time. So I wouldn't be surprised if, one winner or the other. If I had to tell you, if I was giving somebody an edge right now, playing down here in Nassau County and all, man, I don't know. I think that's a pick'em game. If I was making a line on the game, I'd make it pick'em.
I think maybe we can get the line, and when we do that week, we can make it a pick. But I'm taking Cornell in that game if that's the case.
Who do you
I
think,
feel like
Smalls?
Cornell's
Cornell,
gonna win that.
Syracuse, down here.
Oh, that I think that's gonna go. That's gonna be like an overtime game. 12-12, then somebody's going to go in.
You got it at
You know,
12.
because I think like you're coming on Fish, his home turf from St. Anthony's. And then you're going to call out Spalina. The whole family's going to be there. They got people traveling from Brooklyn. The Spalina's got 50 people going. You kidding me?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
It's
showtime.
going to be a great day. It's going to be a good crowd.
You got the Goldsteins coming from Philly. It's going to be wild. Holy cow.
Is Syracuse healthy? To me, they seem like they're
No,
banged up.
they got
lost
one
a
guy,
couple guys.
one guy out. They have one player out, right?
Right.
Spalina leads the nation in scoring, doesn't he now? He got 10 today, right? What did he get?
I don't know. I think
I'm sure he racked up.
No, I think he had 6. I think
I'm
he had.
sure
Yeah, he racked up the points. That's what he's great. Listen,
I think he had 6 or something.
That's a feeding.
Five.
That's a feeding frenzy
I
on
think he
poor
had 2
Manhattan.
and 3 or
well,
something.
you still can't knock somebody for having a higher score if they get it.
What do you
right?
mean? His score?
I'm saying if somebody leads the nation in scoring, you can't go back and go, oh, well, they played this.
He had 2 and 4, so he had 6 points.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But still, those are still good games.
Oh, it's a good game. 6 points is a great game.
You think about like we say that nothing. The kid, I tell you,
We're not.
listen,
Nobody's saying it's nothing. I say it's something. It's not easy to consistently put up 5.
he tried so hard.
5 and 6
I
points.
never seen a kid try so hard. Kids all try hard. There's a lot of good kids.
Yes.
But that kid, everybody wants a piece of that kid. It's true. Everybody wants to guard him. You think about it. He's been all over the.
They don't give him credit for the things. Look, he's a great player. If you ask me, he's got one of the highest IQs of guys playing today. He knows exactly what to do, but he also understands, he takes dodging is maybe not his greatest thing. And like a lot of guys weren't great dodgers. Maybe he's good at dodger, getting a guy when the ball's moving so he can get a guy on an edge, But just to single-handedly overpower somebody is not going to be his thing.
No, but
and
Steve,
that's okay.
At the end of the day, what does it matter?
It doesn't matter.
Win. Right now, Maryland doesn't even have one guy even close in the scoring thing. Leads.
Right.
Look, I'm looking at it right now. I don't think they put Spalina's game up now, but you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. He's 14th in scoring total points, Spalina, right now.
Wow.
So you got all these guys. CJ Kirst has 40 points. You got Liam, the two the Connor boys, Adam and Hassett. They got 40 points each, playing for Colgate. You got Sam King, Harvard, but at the end of the day,
really, who's the leader? Who's the leader?
It doesn't matter.
The leader is a kid from Bellarmine. He's got 50.
And who's he playing? What has he got games against?
Look, you could say they played some tough teams, and yet he scored.
Even they played a couple good teams.
No, Bellarmine played some good teams. But look, at the end, like I said, at the end of the day, the idea is to win the games. Forget all that stuff. That's nice to talk about. I mean, we could congratulate. I think there's a congratulations to go out to Kirst because he broke CJ Kirst. He broke Mike French's record.
Hey,
wow.
Look, I don't know if Smalley knew this. Look in the top corner. Do you see that? This episode brought to you by Sports.
Yeah. You're getting like him. You just go right off track into something else.
No, I'm just saying,
you guys go all over the place.
He could get the Sports Depot award for breaking a record.
I'm putting out a call. We need a producer for this show. We need somebody standing.
Can we find anybody?
We need a producer, professional.
Yeah.
We need a professional producer because we go.
Yeah.
We might as well be using a shotgun.
A professional producer is going to put up with Smalley.
Yeah, he's uncontrollable. Yeah. No, they put a mute. They hit the mute button on him. They put him in the cone of silence.
I've been better.
Yeah, you are.
I got my eye on the prize, guys. I got to listen to me.
Well, you're taking your medication. That's why.
Thank you.
Are you surprised that record stood that long, Vin? French's record?
Well, it was quite a record. It's a lot of friggin' goals. And you got to remember, Mike French did that in 3 years.
Right. That's the thing.
The fact that he did that in only 3 years, same as Stan Cockatoo. If you look at goals per game, I think Frenchie and Cockatoo have the highest with that average. That's what you really kind of have to look at to be fair. If a guy plays, 85 games compared to a guy who broke the record. He had 65 games. Come on, you play 20 more games. It's like another season and a half, you know? So,
Yeah, but
yeah,
well, hold on.
no matter what it is, it's a great record. And
Well, you got a point, but a little pushback on that, Vin. You got guys, you got better defensemen today in the game.
but you also you're playing with a shot clock, so there's more possessions. You're playing faster. There's different things. A record is a record. It's nice. It's for fans to talk about, you know. At the end of the day, I thought that Mike French, you know, he a very classy guy. Anybody in the lacrosse world who knows him personally, you know, he congratulated him and said if anybody was going to do it, he was happy it was him because he thinks so much of the kid and he respected it. So, and that I wouldn't expect any.
What about the defense? Who are these new guys that are coming up? Isn't there a kid from Dartmouth that's like a top? I mean, they're not winning, but some of these guys on teams. I mean,
well, listen, you look. There's a lot of great players, but you know, again,
well, Dartmouth broke into the top 20.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
For the first time in a very long time.
Clark, who's my new friend, Benny? PJ. Who's my new guy?
JP Phelan's son.
JP Phelan. Give me a hand, Benny. JP.
Phelan. He is.
Oh, I love that kid.
He might be St. John's basketball's #1 fan.
He's the face of St. John's.
He's the face.
JP Phelan right now is the face of St. He's everywhere. No. I called him last week.
It's really. It's really there's 4 top people I see right now, and I'll leave Rapoli, the vitamin water guy, on. He's the money guy, but we put him on the side. The top fans are, and I'm not going to name them in order, but you got Richie Red. They call him Richie Red. We can't mention names. Richie Red. We got JP. We got Bobby Vincent, and we got Rob Courtside Smalley.
Bobby Courtside.
Really, if they ever win a national championship, this would be a 30-by-30 story with Rapoli, and it's just something magical. I never saw this before. How you could come back in 1 year and be in the, start making a run to the finals and win.
Do you think you could get Patino to come on 3 guys, many games?
In a heartbeat.
Good. All right, we're gonna have.
Cheryl knows the wife.
Yeah,
we're invited everywhere.
Yeah, we're gonna get Patino on. All right.
I sat with the whole family, 60 of them. JP actually is very close to him. He was the driver.
I know.
JP. He's the only guy I know that can go see his son at Dartmouth. His son's pretty good. He's playing pretty good at Dartmouth.
Yeah.
So he drives up there, and then he drives to the games, Vinny. He's at every game. I look around, and there he is with the face. I never saw it before. It's pretty incredible, though. It's incredible how much driving the guy does. You go to Dartmouth, man. Then you went to St. John's, but it's in Providence, Rhode Island. On Thursday. I leave Thursday morning. We're there the whole weekend. Vincenzo's going. Vincenzo, you made the dance. Vinny's going to be part of the run with, man.
We're going to the big dance.
Well, I think one of the other rounds is at Newark. So that's like that's not even.
No, but if they win the 2 games in Providence, they got to go all the way out to San Francisco.
San Francisco? These 2 games are in the bag.
Wait,
we go to San Francisco.
If you could pick this up. Let me see if it's you. Here it is.
There it is.
Don't jinx it, Vinny. Don't show it. No,
what are you talking about? We're his good luck charm.
Vinny, don't show it.
He came around us and he started winning.
God.
He never won anything before he met you. He only won 5 different conferences and 2 national championships.
You're sick. He really is sick.
Smalley saw him the other day. He says, you never won anything until you caught me on your side. He says, I won 5 different conferences, first place.
I'll tell you, Vinny's got to be a screenplay writer. He's better than Dustin Hoffman and little Joe Pesci. He comes out with more stick. Vinny's got more stick than anything.
God. Hey, we were going off the rails now. Let's
get backtrack.
This is supposed to be our lacrosse show.
Well, let me ask you this. Let's talk about the conferences. If I were to say who's going to win the Big Ten, the Ivy League, and the ACC, who would you say?
Big Ten, I'll go with Maryland. ACC, I'll go with. Actually, I think I'm going to go with. I think the sleeper this year is going to be Carolina.
Yeah, I like Carolina too.
I like Carolina. I think they're going to be a sleeper.
How do you like that, Joe
They're not a
Bresci?
sleeper for me. I know they got a lot of talent. I like the way they play. But I think for most people, I think they get a little, they come in second fiddle to some other guys. I think that's two. Who, let me see.
Ivy League.
Ivy League. Listen, Jerry has got Harvard playing really strong.
Jerry's a good man. He's a great coach, right? What a great
Harvard is
coach.
looking good. Princeton, looked good until what Cornell did to them. I'd have to give right now Cornell an edge, probably. I don't know that was really a heartbreaking loss to Penn State, how they lost that game, but I think in the long run it really maybe woke them up.
Yeah, I don't think it hurts
I
them.
think it refocused them. No, it's early in the year enough, and Penn
You're gonna
State's good
lose
enough.
some games.
That's
It
not
happens.
a terrible loss, but it was a tough loss. It's
Yeah.
it's a learning experience because you got to play the full 60 minutes. Things can happen in games. If that game,
Who do you say, Smalls?
In the Ivies,
yeah,
In all three, Ivy's, ACC, and Big Ten.
I'm gonna go with Vinny's right like that. He's got great insight. But I think Princeton, because they did it last year. Didn't they come and win? They won the Ivies last year, right? Princeton?
did they win last year? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
Did they?
They came back and won it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Unless it was the year before. Princeton won. Yep. Princeton won.
Well, I know Cornell they got upset. They didn't win.
I'd love to see JP play out of their ass and win it. And really, I mean, they're in the top 20 now.
I don't think.
You don't think they have it, right?
They can't. They're not going to win the Ivy. I don't see that. I give them credit. They're getting better. Coaches
Play hard like that, yeah.
They've been a doormat of the Ivies, but to go from last place to win it all, I was surprised the other day. Brown is a funny team. They got blown out by Villanova, who has not been playing so good. But Penn is always dangerous. They play tight games. They got a great goalie and they got one of the best defenders in the country. That kid's a great defender.
When did they start those interleagues?
No, this is what's happening. It's you got probably this weekend, and then after that, teams are getting into the meat of their conference schedules.
Well, Big Ten is starting to play. Ivy's mix around because they might throw a non-league.
They got another
somewhere
one in the middle
in
there. ACC
in the
too.
middle. But Harvard is playing Princeton this weekend.
Yeah, that's a game.
That's a test.
Yeah, you got some great games. You said Ohio State is playing
Penn State.
Penn State, that's a great game. Then you got that Ivy game is a great game. That'll shake up the rankings a little bit, but there's little flips here and there. There's not gonna be much disruption in those things. Hopkins is still strong. I mean, they lost a tough game up in the Dome. That was a close game, and then Syracuse pulled away from them at the end. They were missing one of their. I mean, I know Syracuse has one of their better players hurt, but I think Hopkins. I don't think the kid Melendez was very good. He didn't play, so I think he went back in the lineup now. He must have just had to miss a game or two.
That'll be it. When they look back, Syracuse, if they go on to win it all, that would be the turning point, I would say, in the season when they were looking like a little roughly, and then they beat up on that team, and they could look back on that.
Well, if they had lost that game, that would have been 3 in a row. I think they might have felt some kind of sense of urgency, but I don't believe in all of that. I think, as long as they can stay healthy and get into the, get going into the meat of their schedule, they'll be fine. They can beat anybody if they're hot. Like we said before, Steven named 10 teams. I think any one of those 10 can get to the Final Four. I don't know about winning it all. And Notre Dame, look, Michigan's not a slouchy team. Michigan's pretty good. And they lost 2 in a row, Notre Dame, and it must have, lit a fire. And they come out and they blew Michigan off the field.
Josh Mahalan, how you like our dear friend?
Yeah, listen.
His son. I got to give a shout out to Josh. He drives like cross country. How far is it? He was telling me one day, I go, Josh, there's no way you could drive to Michigan. You know what he told me? It's like 9 hours.
I don't know.
Or 12, Vinny.
He loves his son.
What do you mean?
He knows he loves his sons. He knows Aiden is, this is it. It's his senior year. He's one of the captains. He's having his best year. This is probably his best year since he's there. And, hopefully they can make a little noise and get to the playoffs themselves. But,
Well, they've done so well in the past. They always seem to turn it on at the end of the year.
Yeah,
they have
end
those
up
upsets.
winning.
That's true, Steven.
They won the Big Ten, so look, that's the thing about with the conference play and the automatic bids. Like Smalley and Kevin Garnett say, anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
Everybody's alive. And one thing I want to bring up, and this is a bold, like Smalley says, this is a bold statement I'm about to make. This is a bold statement.
Good, Stevie, make it, kid.
Vinny, I think, will agree, but we talk so much about these top teams, and they are top teams. But the statement I'm going to make is we got the chance to attend the game, and even the teams that are not way on the top, you can see great games. So we went to go see, and we saw Hofstra play Stony Brook, and it was a tremendous game. This game you could just sit there and enjoy the game. It was played at a high level. It was very, very competitive. I think the score flip-flop back and forth, and I don't know that a team went up. Maybe Stony Brook might have been up 2-0, and then it just went back and forth, tie game, one goal the other way, then the other way, and ended up in, what was it, double overtime?
Double overtime, yeah.
Double overtime, and Hofstra comes out with the big win. Congrats to our dear friend Seth Tierney and his staff and the players. It was a great game. It was really
entertaining.
Really an enjoyable game.
It was played at a high level, and as we were talking up in the box watching that game, we said, like you take Hofstra. I mean, they look good. You wonder why a week before they went down to Carolina and they get destroyed. They come out and they're down 10-1 in the first quarter. What's the difference in the athleticism, the skill level, the sticks? I mean, look, watching that game the other night, their stick skills look as good as anybody that I've seen, right? Wouldn't you say, Stephen, that they got elite stick skills?
And they're shooting as hard as what anybody you could imagine shoot. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. It's coaching a little bit, but it's also athleticism. It's like bigger, stronger, faster, maybe. Right. Guys who could create more separation. Guys who defensively, they can't get an inch on. So, you play these other big, strong teams. You look good against one team, and then the next game you can't beat anybody.
Stony Brook and Hofstra, but one time Stony Brook out of a timeout. I mean, they had such a nice play out of a timeout that they scored on at the end of a quarter. Yeah. It was unbelievable. And Hofstra coming out with some set pieces, made some beautiful lacrosse plays. Yeah. I mean, really, really nice.
An entertaining game. Like we said that night, that conference, that's a one-team conference. You're going to have to win. I think Fairfield's in that conference. Fairfield. We don't talk about Fairfield. We should give Fairfield a shout out. They're one of the only undefeated teams, right?
Yeah, but they don't.
Only undefeated team. Everybody lost.
No, Maryland's undefeated
in the rankings.
Maryland and Army are undefeated also.
You talk about under the top 10.
No, I'm talking about undefeated teams. There's 3 right now, right? But Fairfield, they're doing what they have to. They won every game. Are they like Maryland? Probably not. If they had to play Maryland, but
they're not moving them up there that far.
No, they're on the radar now, and they've earned it. And the program's going in the right direction. And give those kids credit. They got to be believing in themselves right now, just like Colgate. Some of these programs are coming up because of the players they have. They're all, and some programs are struggling. Listen, he's a friend too, Shorty down at Loyola. Loyola's really struggling this year. What do they got? 2 wins or something right now?
They got no wins.
No,
hey, Stephen, can I back up for a second?
I think they won at least 1 or 2 games.
I don't think they won.
Take a look. I'm pretty sure they won.
Colonial League, Stephen, I misunderstood you. For the fans, I wanted to say, does Hofstra actually have a chance to get to the playoffs?
Yes.
Yeah,
they'd have to win to my opinion, they got to win the league to get to the playoffs.
Well, so they have to win the league.
It's 0-7.
No way. Really?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
And it's crazy because they lose to Maryland.
Yeah.
In overtime.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, that's the crazy
part. Oh, I'd love to see Hofstra get in there. Setieri, man. Come on.
They got a shot.
Come on, let's go for Seti, boy.
They got a shot.
Look at this Loyola, like you said. They lost to Georgetown 13-6. They lost to Maryland in overtime. They lost to Hopkins 9-8. They lost to Rutgers. Colgate blew their doors off.
Yeah.
That was like they lost to Providence tight 12-11. They just lost to BU 13-7. Then they got Lafayette, Lehigh, Bucknell, Towson, Holy Cross, Navy, and Army.
It's unbelievable.
Look, in years past, even if their record wasn't great, they were capable to do something in the Patriot League. I just think this is a down year for them. It's going to be tough.
Right.
If anybody could get them going, it's Charlie Toomey, and
Right.
He's got great assistants there too, and they've been there before. They understand what it takes.
It reminds me a little bit like I was saying last week about us at Post, like playing these teams, and maybe he's got guys that he's got to get them to believe. They're in the. And if you lose to Maryland in overtime, a lot of these other teams ain't at that level.
That's what I'm saying. It's look at the margin of error. So it's consistency. It's about getting better. That's what I love about some of these top teams. Like, we talk a lot about Tillman, and deservedly so. Danowski's done a good job at that over the years too. There've been times Danowski, they lost a couple games early in the season. They seem to hit their peak, in the end of April and into May. That's where you want to be. You don't want to be your best in March. You want to be your best at the end of the year. And if you can stay injury free and you have depth, that's why I thought, that Notre Dame team last year was so strong, because they were really deep. They were playing a lot of people. Like you said, they lost 2 games in a row, close, but don't sleep on Notre Dame. I think they're right there. I think they'll be right there at the end. They'll be a tough out.
Too much talent.
Yeah.
Too much talent there.
I got to say, if you're really a fan of the game, these games are great, but it just shows we do it for fun, picking these games and all. And it's very hard. It's maybe not as hard as I see some other people, they pick the games. They just pick the winner of the game. Winner of the game wouldn't be as hard. It's not as hard as when you got a point
right,
spread in
there. Picking the game.
Those point spreads in there, it's pretty tough when your teams are 9-goal favorites. And I say to myself,
right. Look at football. Harry Bradshaw hasn't won in 4 years.
Yeah.
He's under 500. He's the expert of the game.
When you used to watch that, we're like those guys on the NFL show there. They when they put the record up, the guy leading it is like a 500 record. That's about where we are, right?
Not even. Terry Bradshaw's like 350. Who's the other guy that played for the Raiders? Nice looking guy.
Yeah. Howie Long.
Yeah. Howie, you haven't won anything in years?
Yeah, but so who knows? Listen. It's
I got a special surprise for you.
Oh, go ahead. Jake Froccaro's in the house.
Wow.
Oh, wow, look at this. What an honor. Jake Froccaro's in the house.
Can you guys hear me?
Wait a second. Is that really him on?
Yeah. Who do you think it is?
What?
Yeah.
Jake Froccaro! Tell him I'm looking for a job at the new little restaurant. Please hire me. Come on.
Malls, you're always hot.
Congratulations on the new place. I want to make sure you tell me, Vinny. I want to get a sandwich. What's it called again? What's the name?
Dave's Hot Chicken. We just opened up right by St. John's.
Yeah.
Your spot.
Holy cow, it's amazing, man.
And when's the other Dave's opening? The other Call Place version?
We're opening hopefully April 3rd, but anywhere from April 3rd to April 10th.
Well, I got to stop the show. First of all, thank you for coming on, Jake. You don't look the same. Now, you know him all your life. I'm going to tell you something about Jake. Both of you don't even know. Mr. Jake, you don't even know what chair he's sitting. I know where he got that chair. He's a big game player, video game. Am I right?
Hell yeah, yeah.
How's the chair? My son got the same one.
It's good. Like it.
That's the one you got to get. Which do you like? Fortnite? I know you've advanced. Which do you like?
I got to be honest. I'm in a semi-retirement the last month, but I usually play.
You haven't played as much.
I play Counter-Strike with my cousins and my brother, or Call of Duty. I play Fortnite too. Everyone.
He knows the fighter. My son, he lives over here. The fighter used to live across the street from me. Who's the famous fighter on Long Island? He's retiring now. He wrestled at Hofstra.
They play with Weidman.
Weidman's on.
Yeah.
One day, his friend, my son goes, Weidman's on. I go, what? And Ryan said he knows him because he goes on with some people because he's from Baldwin.
Yeah,
he's from Baldwin.
He games a lot. Weidman and Vellante.
He loves it. He loves it.
He's our OG squad.
Oh my
Well,
God,
so
Jake.
we came right on. We went right into chicken. We went right into everything. But I have to talk about Jake as a player. That I think any one of these teams that are playing right now would like to have Jake on their team because he was a scoring machine when he was in college. He was a scoring machine really his whole life. But I think a lot of people who followed lacrosse over the years saw what Jake could do on a lacrosse field. He one of the best shooters and players that there was. I always tout one of his big achievements in that he holds the record at two Division I schools for goals in a game. 10 at Princeton and 8 at Villanova, which I think maybe his buddy Jack Curran might have tied him in a game. But to hold the record at two Division I schools, I don't know if anybody else ever going to do that one again. That's pretty tough to do. And Stephen and I, and watching Jake growing up, playing and taking the game to a whole nother level. And he won the hardest shot contest in the PLL in the inaugural season with the PAL with Chaos. He was a first team All Pro. So you're talking about a guy who's done it all in lacrosse and loved the game, but now has gone another way. He's running marathons. A guy we couldn't get to run around the block. Now all of a sudden he's running marathons. And he ran his first one in New York City. I'll let him tell you, but he shot for 3 hours. He cramped up a little, and he just went, what'd you do, 3:09, Jake? Something like that? It was 3:09?
Yeah, I did my, which is pretty funny because all my friends say the same thing. I couldn't pass a run test once. I don't think I passed one run test in college. It was kind of my Achilles heel. I hated running, but recently got into it. Ran my first I ran a half marathon in June, and then I went straight for New York City this past November, ran 3:09, and now I'm actually running 3 weeks in the Jersey City Marathon. So hopefully my goal is at least under 3 hours, but hopefully I could do a little bit better than that. We'll see.
Jake, what shoe do you use? Do you prefer? You probably switched over time. You probably run with a Brooks or something. Brooks.
Yeah, I'm like, I've become a shoe connoisseur, I think. I have like 50 pairs of shoes now, but I like just trying as many new ones as I possibly can.
Yeah.
But
What fits you better?
yeah, you got to use something with like max cushion for most of the days because I do almost every run outside. So I don't want to screw up my knees and my ankles. But yeah, I use Brooks. When I race, I use Nike ones. So those will probably be the ones I break out. Or
what size foot are you? Like hopefully a 9 when you're running. Are you not a 12, are you?
I'm an 11 and a half.
Oh, God almighty. It's like he's a Clydesdale. When you got a foot, it's like a horse. He's still a big dude to do that time.
So
wow.
Steve, here's a little fun fact that you'll like with Jake. Now, when you're always giving Vinny the business. He is the GOAT. Let's face it, he is the GOAT. But I always said he's not a racket guy, and he's not like a golf guy, right? They don't tease him, right? Okay, but he can't be great at everything. But this kid over here, I don't understand it. Everything the guy goes out to do, he has like unbelievable success. Even the thing of running, like goes out, says, "Oh, I'm gonna run." Now he's doing a marathon in 3 hours. Tennis, outstanding. Decides to go out for the basketball team, becomes all county. He has. Is there? What I want to know is what aren't you good at? Do you play pool good?
There's a lot of things. I'm not very good at video games. I'll say that. My cousins will make fun of me. They'll say I suck at video games, but I try really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're into it.
If I try to go full throttle in anything I do, so if I start off not so good, I'll try to get better.
Jake, I got a couple of interesting questions for you as to running now. I'll make a statement, then you can reply. If you were doing what you do now, this is my opinion. Of course, the critics, you two lovely friends here, are going to get on me. But if you were doing what you do now, and then you're going into lacrosse for the season, you would have been a much better lacrosse player than you are. I'm not saying you weren't good. Do you agree with that statement that I'm saying? Yes or no?
I would say that probably the only area of lacrosse that I didn't really take that seriously was the conditioning aspect of everything. And obviously, when you're playing every day, you're always going to be in pretty good shape, regardless. Especially at the college level, I mean, you're running every single day. You're kind of required to do conditioning through your strength and conditioning program. But to do it outside of college becomes much more and more challenging, especially like when you play at the pro level, everything is basically on your own. So it definitely becomes more challenging as you get older. And not that I didn't take it seriously, but after I retired from professional lacrosse, I picked up the running much more easily. I think in college, especially, and in high school, you kind of view it as a punishment. And I always hated that. Like I always associated running as I did something wrong. So now they're putting me on the line and they're making me run sprints. And I just never really realized how much better of a player would have been if I was just in a little better shape. For me, in
Wow.
my
Yeah.
career, I always kind of left a little bit in the tank because
You
I
like
was
it
always
like
nervous
that.
I'd be tired.
Let me ask
Another good
you.
question. Hold on, Stephen. I'm sorry to talk over you. Stephen, one more. Also, I wanted to add that to as he was saying. Also, what I tried to explain to Vinny, I know he's going to laugh and push back. If Vinny would have had me and my brother when we were young, he'd be a 6-time world player because he would have played into his 50s. Because, oh, you're laughing. Jay, question to you. In your opinion, now that you're running and you're into this, how much do you contribute dieting, eating right, and going through all this as going forward? So important, correct?
Definitely. I mean, it's when you're a college athlete, you're kind of just eating whatever. I mean, I know I was. I know some big schools, they definitely nowadays are doing more of the dieting stuff and making sure kids are eating the right stuff. But like when I was in college, it was like you go to practice, you go to Wawa, I would sleep for 8 hours, and then I would probably be going to the bar. So it's not really
You
the
eating
best
corn
diet.
chips and having a few drinks. That's it. But imagine a diet. Vinny, take yourself now. Imagine you dieting like Jake, training like Jake does. Where would you be?
Dead.
Think about what I'm saying. You'd be 1,000 times better and you would have laughed.
Vinny trained pretty good.
No, I
if you
used
ask
to
me.
train. I
think
trained pretty.
I was probably the worst at that
I
than
trained
any of
pretty
them.
He
hard.
trained by, he lifted ice. He worked for a guy who lifted ice.
Well, let's go back. I mean, I don't know of a Division One lacrosse school that I know kids on all these different teams that don't have, a strength and conditioning guy, and they have a whole regimen. Some guys might not take it as seriously as others, but you still got to be there. You got times that you have to be involved in all of that. When I played in college at the time I was in college, we didn't do any lifting at all. We barely did any. You were kind of like on your own in season and out of season. So I'm agreeing with you. Could everybody who trains and physically gets stronger and you get better conditioned in terms of your wind and all, you would assume you could play better. But yes, could Jake have taken it up a couple of notches, more? But I don't know how much more you really could have taken it up as a player. You hit a max in terms of how much
Yeah.
better could he
I
really
think
be?
honestly, it's like you try to make as much progress as you can during the summer. That's like really where you make the most gains, especially at the college level. I feel like
Right.
during the season, it's very difficult to do too much on your own because you have a game on Saturday. So you're constantly in this battle of like, you want to work hard, but you also don't want to be too sore for your games. And you want to be at 100% for your games. You can't run the risk of getting hurt. So it's really like the summer where you have to maximize your training. And most guys during the summer don't really, they don't really want to go too hard during the summer because they know fall ball's coming up right when they get back to school, and then they go right into the season. And it is a long, grueling season. But for me personally, I always loved the strength and condition. Well, strength portion. I don't know about the condition portion, but the strength portion of it, I always enjoyed doing. Lifting weights, I always loved doing. It was something that I would come home from college and enjoy doing with my brothers and my cousins. So like that has always been a part of our family. But the running aspect of it, that's definitely the more challenging part, at least for me, to do on your own. And obviously in the summer is where you're going to make the most progress. So you really have to try your best to do it on your own. Some schools like write programs for you and you do it. But like I said, it's more of like the mental piece of it. If you don't want to do it, you're always going to kind of half-ass it. Even if you get a program and you're following it, you got to go 100% and you really got to want to get better conditioning. You can't just go through the motions.
Hey, Jake.
Since I stopped playing lacrosse, now because I'm training for, different goals, I really, really every day try to get better. Running the marathon for me is pretty cool because you could see progress each and every day, each and every week. And like, you know, you run with these watches and you have heart rate monitors and all these things. And when you see like all the data and see how you're getting better, it becomes addictive. And in college, you're not really thinking like that. You're just, you know, you just say like you think you got faster, but you don't really know. A lot of it's changing now.
It's a new challenge. I mean, look,
You were unique, Jake. I wanted to ask you because maybe it'll help college players out there, or you know, even high school players. You were unique in the sense that you could be very into the physical fitness portion of it, and you could lift, and you're strong as an ox, you know, much stronger than even your size, you know, you are. And you were unique in being able to put on weight, and you could play anywhere from 185 pounds to what was the highest you played at?
Yeah, probably the lightest I played at probably was, well, my freshman year I was like 170, but after that was probably the lightest was probably 185, 190. And then the heaviest I got to was probably 220, 225.
Okay, so that's a 30-pound difference. So what my question would be is, I've always felt you were best at like a 190, 185. That's what I felt your best, even though you were might be stronger at the 220. What's your feeling of how?
I played one season in college at attack, so it depends on really the position I was playing. But most of my career, I played midfield. And I definitely feel as I grew older, at least, and my career went on, the lighter I was, the better I was to be.
That's what I wanted to say.
Especially,
I would have him at 175.
Yeah,
if he's playing with his talent now.
The way I played the position, I was taking faceoffs. I played defense. I tried to take as many wings as I could. I wanted to just be on the field as much as I possibly can. And like I said, if you're constantly letting your conditioning hold you back, you're always kind of thinking like, oh, I don't want to get tired for the fourth quarter. And that's the worst feeling. Feeling like you might get tired later on in the game, so you're holding things back. If you're really at your peak conditioning, you never should feel that way. And you should be going 110% the whole game. Not that I wasn't going 110% the whole game, but there's always something in the back of your mind. It's like, you know, it's a long game. You want to kind of pace yourself. So that's always in the back of your head. So
Sounds like you want to come back, Jake. Sounds like Jake wants to come back to the game. I give you a little challenge, Jake.
I think Skinny
Let's get
Jake,
you back.
Skinny Jake would dominate. There's no question in my mind. Skinny Jake
He
would
might
dominate.
be better now than he's ever been. He's got mindset. He's skinny. He knows how to stay in shape. He doesn't get tired now. Sounds like he's got a whole new career.
Well, I do think
Look at Benny. Look at Benny's in his glory. Jake, come back.
I always say,
You're sick.
you know, and other guys have confirmed it that I played with who were great players. They admitted, like, you know, they really hit mentally peak performance at about 30 years old. They thought they knew everything, how to play this game at 21 and 22 and saw it all and that, but you really don't. You know, there's so many different aspects and little things that you can improve on. But unfortunately, as you're getting older, you're also not doing as much conditioning.
How old are you, Jake?
I'm turning 31 in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He's a kid. Vinny, you're the Iron Man. You played till you're 60 years old. Jake's got 30.
He's a runner now. He's enjoying it. It's a new challenge for him.
I really want to challenge Jake right now. And if he can come back and be better than he ever was, he's in better shape. That's what we told Vinny.
I will say this. After I stopped playing lacrosse, I don't think it was the first time really in basically 28 years that I didn't play lacrosse. Right. So I kind of just completely put the stick down, which was good for me because I was just kind of burnt out. Yeah. I had played lacrosse for so long, so many seasons. Like, literally, since I was 3 years old, Checkmate Lacrosse Camp, I basically played all year round for 25 years.
Yeah. And you missed it.
Hey, Jake.
There are parts of it I missed.
But that's the story. He left small. He went to Checkmate Lacrosse Camp at like underage even.
He went underage.
And we didn't go see him. And he leaves a message on my mother's voicemail. He leaves a message, and he says, with his cute little voice, "I just want to say you missed it."
We had some. I still have the pictures of Checkmate Lacrosse Camp, like at my parents' house, and we had some amazing lineups of kids. It was like I was like 3 years old, but I went to camp with my brother Jeff, who was 3 years older than me, just because they would let me go in and do the drills with them. But that crew of guys, like if you look at it, it was my brother, it was Connor English. I remember Matt Kavanaugh, because I'll never forget Matt Kavanaugh beat me in the face-off tournament that we had at Gordon Purdy's checkmate camp when I was like 4 years old. He beat me, and for 20 years, that's all I would talk about is Matt Kavanaugh beat me in the face-off in the finals. And then 10 years later, I remember seeing from Chaminade, Matt Kavanaugh was great.
Wow.
So obviously,
Hey, Jake, I got a good question here, and it's going to be a little challenging, not too bad, but this is my opinion. Let me just let it out, Smalley style. How much did these two guys kind of hurt you as you were playing? Because all you ever heard was Vinny Sombrado. I would have been so upset. Don't get me wrong. You had to live up to their names. Did you ever feel, I need your true honesty here, Jake. Did you ever feel funny, like maybe one time, I can't do this. I got to live up to Vinny Sombrado and Steven. Did it ever get to you at all like that?
honestly, I never really felt that pressure because pretty much every game I've ever played in, my uncles were there to watch. That's first of all. So I would get feedback from them right after the game. I always felt like they were trying to make me the best player I could possibly be since I was very, very little. Between my uncles, my older brother, my cousins, my dad. I mean, if you ask my uncles too, my dad never even heard of lacrosse really growing up.
I love him.
And he bought a stick right when we started playing lacrosse, and my uncles introduced me to the game, and he fell in love with the sport. My dad he only has a right hand though. He's basically a Canadian.
He's got skills.
He would every single day spend time with me throwing back and forth. Then the bounce backs came out, and that's what I fell in love with. I would just go on the bounce back every single day. But I never really felt the pressure to live up to how amazing my uncles were, or even my older brother, who was obviously a great talent as well. They were always in my corner trying to help me as best as
Answer, Jake. Good answer.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something about that.
Here we go.
You said that because I think my nephews were so focused on just their game and how they played and what they did, and took advice from us growing up, and how many times we went up to the fields and tried to show them things and teach them stuff. But I think I remember one time it was like Jake was probably already like in like high school when he finally realized, you know, what Steven and I had done in the game. Like it was more like he knew, but he really like when other guys
they're too young. He doesn't know.
No, when other guy, right? He's focused on himself. You know, he wasn't the kind of guy that scoured the internet back then and looked to see statistics and things like that. He knew we played. He knew we were pretty good, and he was happy that we were trying to give him.
And honestly, a huge help for me was that I was always around lacrosse, like growing up, and I honestly I really loved the game. That's part of the reason why I retired. I felt like I loved lacrosse for so long, and then when it got towards the end of my career, and I just was like, I don't know if I really want to play anymore. I said, that's it for me. You know, I kind of lost that passion to play. And once you feel that way, it's like, you might as well stop playing.
Yeah.
Growing up, I was always around the sport. My uncles, I went to every Lizards practice. I went to Saints practices. I'd go to my older brother's practices. I was always the guy who just hung around at everything. And I would literally bring my equipment. I'd go to a Lizards practice and bring my equipment and hope that they would say, "Oh, you want to hop in the drills?" Like that. That's how I learned. I really loved playing, and I wanted to be involved in anything.
How old were you when we had you down at Turf Island and you
Ninth
were jumping
grade.
in there?
He was ninth
grade. Ninth grade. Yeah.
Ninth grade. And I remember.
Vinny, tell the story. Did you grab Jake to play in a game with grown-ups? And you punched the guy in the nose? Was that Jake?
Oh, no. We went.
Oh, tell the story for the fans. Go ahead.
First, I almost killed Steven, too. That was
right.
Yeah. We went to play indoor in Oil City that Pat McCabe, Donnie Borges, and Joe Amato, they had this place, our buddy Joe Amato, they had a place in Oceanside off the beaten path in the back. They called it Oil City because there were oil tanks back there and stuff. Industrial area. So Pat called me and said, look, we're going to have a little, indoor. We might form a little league. Come down and play. Bring some guys. Now, of course, this was really supposed to be an adult league, But I said to my brother-in-law, I said, maybe Jeff and Jake want to come down. And Jeff was a senior in high school, and Jake was a freshman in high school, right? That's how it
Yep.
breaks
Yeah,
down.
yeah.
And Joey, who was looking to get in, and he was like in sixth grade, I think Joey was or something, and he'd come down with his stick too. So we'd all go, we'd pile in my brother-in-law Jake's dad's car, and we go to Oil City. So I walk in there, and they're like, they see Jake, they're putting their equipment on, and they're like, what are they doing? I said, they're going to play. They're like, play? This is like an adult league. There's men in here. They're going to get hurt. And I
He's
said,
in ninth grade, right?
ninth grade.
Ninth grade.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But he was slick. He had such good skills, and he had a nose for the ball, and he was getting loose balls off the wall. And Jeff was
Holy cow.
Forget about Jeff. Jeff was like a tank anyway. He could play against men already. He was shooting balls in. And we ended up we won the league. They have different sessions. We won it like 3 times. And then we had one kid who came to play with us, Eddie Collins. You know Eddie Collins,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, of course.
So Eddie Collins, who he played at Long Beach, and I think one coach heard that he was playing in this thing, and he was like, "You can't play in that. That's a men's league. You can lose eligibility." And he tells me, "I can't play tonight." My coach said, I said, "Yeah, they should only know that my nephews were playing for like 3 years in this thing." And we had so much fun in that league, and that was, for you, Jake, to be playing against older guys. You always played against older guys, which I think was a huge benefit to you. But one thing is, like, you really had that skill level. And if it wasn't that you were smaller, people would not know that you were in ninth grade, because your skill level was as good as anybody who was playing out there already. You always had, all you three, you and your 2 brothers had tremendous skill level. I mean, Joey, Jeff, he's a little different. Jeff is more of was like a man already in 8th grade.
Like a force of nature.
He was scoring in the playoff game against Hicksville in 8th grade. I remember him shooting in a rocket, and they were like, "Who's that kid?" They're like, "He's in 8th." I think it's a misprint. It says 8th grade. The way he could shoot it. Jake could sling it. As you got bigger and stronger too, you were different than Jeff. You weren't as strong as him at those ages, but you had a different. You were more wiry strong, and you had an ability, like the way you extended your arms and stuff. You're longer than him, and you obviously winning the hardest shot contest that one year in the pro league.
And you're doing the hardest shot with a short stick against long poles. I mean, that's in itself, that probably should be separate.
Yeah.
A question for Jake. Another good question. These are the best questions. Come on, Jake. So now you ran a marathon. You're feeling good. You did your second or third thing. You're really feeling in shape. So as you're running, those days, you're always thinking of so many things in life. You got the restaurants. You're busy here. Did you ever say to yourself, "Man, I'm in such good shape. Like, I got 1 shot left. Can I listen to my Uncle Vinny and maybe come back and maybe get in the league again and then go climb up the ladder?" Did a thought cross in your brain?
Honestly, not really. But I will say it's definitely, since starting running and really getting in basically how I feel is the best shape that I've ever been in, it's definitely crossed my mind like how much better I would have been if I really focused on conditioning. Not that I was in bad conditioning. I always said I was always in very good playing shape. But like my idea of conditioning, I hated sprints. I hated running. How I conditioned was I always was the person who wanted to play in any game that was available. Like always, since I was a little kid. Like I said before, I would stand in the sideline of my brother's games with my equipment. I'd bring my equipment to everything if they would let me play. And this is not even just lacrosse. I would do it in every sport, in football, in baseball, in basketball, in any sport I could. I always wanted to just get involved some way or shape or form. But that's kind of how I did my conditioning, is I would play in as many summer league games as I possibly can and play in as many leagues as I possibly could. But a lot of kids nowadays, I feel like they kind of shy away from that, which in my opinion is not good. I never felt like I was never afraid to get hurt. Even when I was playing with literally guys who were 10 years older than me those indoor leagues, I was never afraid. I always just thought if I played with older kids, I would get better. And I do think that was a massive advantage for me, like my Uncle Vinny said. And I do see that some of the best kids that I've ever played against, did something similar. They all played up. Tom Schreiber, I remember, played up on his express team. My little brother played up on his express team. Jeff always played a year up. All the Kavanaughs always played up. And the Kavanaughs I love. They're just a great family. All the younger Kavanaughs, they kind of did what I did at my older brother's games. And Pat and Chris, they would stand on the sideline of our Chili Willy games or whatever game we were playing in, and they would always try to get in and play. And I think that's what makes kids better, not shying away from being in competition. That was the best feeling for me in all sports, is like the competitive nature of it. That would be the only thing I say that I miss about lacrosse, is really like the competitiveness. That's why I needed something different that I wanted to do to challenge myself. I found it in running, because I'm just very competitive. If I did 3:09 in the last marathon, and then like Uncle Vinny can attest, right after that, I was disappointed basically, because I wanted to get under 3 hours. And basically the next day I just started running again, aiming for a new goal. And I think it's that type of competitive spirit that not everyone has, but some of the best athletes that I know do have, and that's what makes them.
Hey, Jake, what player? It'll be several players, but if you could pinpoint a player for the fans, what player did you play with in the pros or college that you feel had the highest IQ in the game? It may not be one guy, but maybe one or two guys or whatever that you felt you just got out there. The guy, I just clicked with this guy. And
I mean, honestly, I played with so many good players over the years.
Right, I know it's not one, but
I'll always answer. My brother, to me, my older brother, Jeff, was the best player I've ever played with, or, at any level, really. And I know how talented he is, and obviously I'm biased because he's my brother, but I'll always say he was the best player I've ever played with. Then I actually got to play with my two uncles. So in terms of intellect of the sport, like, you're not really getting any smarter than my two uncles. I would make a play, and that type of feedback. I would be in ninth grade playing with 30-year-olds. And I'd go out and make a play or have a turnover, and I'd come to the sideline, and I got my two uncles who were, professionals. One 4-time USA member. My Uncle Steven was unbelievable. And I would immediately get feedback. It was like watching film in real time. Like, I was
in real life, you watching film.
But I will say this, is I was always very receptive to it. And a lot of guys are not receptive to feedback. They're, and I saw that even on guys on our team who were younger. Like, my uncle would, maybe critique them, and they didn't know him obviously as well as I did. But, some kids could get insulted, but I never felt that way. I always, like, if my uncle or my dad or my brother ever said anything that was trying to help me, I really took it in and tried to work on it. And that's what makes you a better player. If you don't want to improve, then you're never going to improve.
And then you had Smalls. Even it comes full circle. So he's in the little kid playing in Turf Island and we were probably we were geezers then, even, Yeah. And then now, just 2 years ago, in the most highly competitive summer league open college division there is, we're out there playing as fossils, and Jake is out there, and Joey, and Jake threw me a pass. I score a goal. I'm scoring goals in a college division.
And also, I mean, I played with so many, like, on these teams, I played with so many just good players. I felt like I learned the best by watching other people. I was like a visual learner. So, I played with my brother, obviously, my uncles, Rob Pennell, James Pennell. I mean, the Kavanaughs, Michael Earhart. Like, my Chili Willy's team had 10 guys who were all Americans in college.
Well, one guy you played with that
Tom Schreiber.
I was going to say, that midfield when you were at Princeton your sophomore year, you, Tom, and Kip Orban, you were statistically, right there with that Dima class, Miles Jones, and that, you guys were the highest scoring midfield in the country. Those two midfields were far and away the best midfield. I mean, when you look at the three players on your team, and Kip could shoot the crap out of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, our line was just, we were always just on the same page. And I will say, you have to work in lacrosse, obviously, when you're playing offense, it's 6 players, but you really have to work together with your unit. So if it's your midfield unit or your attack unit, and then obviously that comes together. But me, Kip, and Tom really worked well together. And we worked on a lot of things outside of practice to really make sure we had that connection. It does go a very long way. I think we were like leading the country that year in scoring. Maybe we were averaging like 15 or 16 goals a game. It was a great. We had a talented group of guys, and we worked well together. We fed off each other's energy, and I was a freshman at the time. I was a junior. I obviously he was one of the best players in the game. Still is, I think, the best midfielder in the game, or player in the game, really. And he taught me a lot. He's another one who, it's not like when you're playing with Tom, it's not like it's all these like teaching moments. You know what I'm saying? He's not like standing next to you and showing you exactly where you need to be. It's like he works well with you. He tries to learn from you and feed off of how you play as well. And he knows how to adapt to the players around him, which is why he's great.
That's very, I would tell guys all the time, all the years I played, I mean, obviously playing midfield, and I lasted a long time, so I played with different guys. There were certain guys, Norm Engelke, that I played many years together with, and and somebody filled in. Steven and I playing together, and somebody was a third midi who filled in, and playing with guys like that really can play, regard, if they were even away from us, without us, they're great players, but together. One of the things I used to say, and I still see it today, I watch these college games. Like when I used to come off the field when I was playing club lacrosse or, with Norm, and like I would say, what do you see there? What do you think? Let's run a give and go. Like we were constantly talking when we weren't in the game, like what we were going to do the next time we're on the field.
Exactly.
I don't see enough of that, like with guys. If you can get on the same page with guys, like, listen, that guy looks tough on you. He looks like he wants to drive you down the right. Let me come and pick for you. I'll get you freed up, so you could feed better. Just those little things. But those are like, coaches are so involved in the game. They're not doing that, like that micromanagement during the game so much. That's why if you're a smart player or you want to be a better player, you got to communicate with the guys you're playing with, and because they might be seeing something a little different than you. And I appreciate what you said, that, you were open to that, because look, it's hard, when you're at a certain level as a player, like when you are at such a young age, it's very easy to be like, you think you know everything, and you get away from really trying to learn things that you don't even know you don't know. You know what I mean? It's because you're having such great success already. Like it's like, well, come on, I'm scoring every game. I did this. I'm doing that. What more could I do? Is the famous
and that's just how you build the chemistry too. I mean, like for me, I've been very fortunate to be on a lot of really, really good lines. At Princeton, I was with Tom and Kip. We had great chemistry, and it was more of like a feeling thing. It wasn't like a lot of times we would have those discussions off the field, but on the field, it's not like I had to call here or call there. He knew where I was going to be. I knew where he was going to be. I knew how he played from practice, and that's kind of how we had success. But even when I went to Villanova, I played with my brother Joey, which was amazing because I always know where he was going to be. Jack Curran, Christian Cuccinello, Danny Seibel. Like it's about building that chemistry, and in practice is really where you do get better because you could talk things through. Not everything's going to go perfect. Almost every single time you run a play, something goes a little bit wrong, and you got to know how your teammates play and adapt, basically. Otherwise, you're never really going to have any success. If you think it's just going to be like all X's and O's and this, something's going to go wrong on every single play. So you really have to be able to adapt to the situation.
Jake, one of the things for the fans I'd like to ask you, other than your family and all the cha-cha guys that you're close to you, who was your idol in the game? Who did you look up to besides the Vinny's family, like another person outside the norm?
I won't give any family answers, but I would say my favorite player ever outside of my family was J.J. Albert, number 10 on the Lizards, the Long Island Lizards at the time. He was honestly the reason why everyone in my family wore number 10. He played on the Lizards with my uncle, both of my uncles, and like I said,
Does he know that? Does he know that?
I don't know that Jay knows that from Jake, but listen, we know what Jay was as a player. He's as good as anybody. He was phenomenal.
Yeah, he was just two-handed midfielder, could run all day. I mean, talk about a guy with conditioning. The guy like never got tired.
Yeah.
He was tough as nails, almost too tough.
Right.
And he was like the original swim move guy too. I know that some other guys afterwards, but J. Jalbert, I remember like when he did a swim move, I was like I was like 5 or 6 years old, and I was practicing in the backyard trying to figure out how he was doing that. But he was like
he's
the
the original swim move. Is that true?
Yeah, he was one of the first guys really to use that swim move like that. He was.
Yeah, and honestly, like so much of my game, I tried to model after him and some other great midfielders as well. But like he played wings of the faceoffs, he played defense, and it was just I always enjoyed watch. That's the lacrosse that I grew up watching, where there was no specialization really. It was everyone played. If you were a midfielder, there was no such thing as an offensive midfielder. There was no such thing as a defensive midfielder. You played both sides of the ball. You wanted to play wings. You wanted to take the face-offs. It was so much less specialized. And then, of course, my older brother, who was 3 years older than me, he did everything on all of the teams, him growing up, playing in high school in particular. He took face-offs. He played some midfield, some attack, played defense, played long pole on man down. So that was like the type of player that I always modeled my game after. The J. Jalberts and the two-way midfielders and the guys who wanted to basically do everything for their team. I always took a lot of pride in, like, if there was a spot up for grabs, I was volunteering to do it. If it was man down, I would run out and grab the long pole until the coach said, "You're not a long pole. Don't do that." Because I always felt like I could try to help the team in whatever way possible. So I wanted to be able to do that. But now it's so specialized. It's an offensive midfielder, defensive midfielder. And it's not, to me, that's not really showing lacrosse at its best, to be honest. I would love to see more of the two-way midfielders come back, guys who play the wings of the faceoff, because you're just such a more versatile player when you do those things. I think, so much of my game benefited from picking up ground balls and making plays between the lines that just helps you be a better player, really.
Jake, what do I have here? I had, let's see here. So that was it. Jake, any regrets that you left on the field at all that may be in your little toolbox that if you went back that you'd want to do over again?
I mean, looking back, there were a couple of games we should. There's always games that you look back and you say, I don't know how the heck we lost that. When I was at Princeton, I'll never forget, we lost to Dartmouth one year. That really, really screwed up our season my freshman year. And not that Dartmouth was a bad team, but we were definitely the favorite to win that, and we didn't take them as seriously. We had a couple of injuries, so that one always hurt. At Villanova, losing to Marquette in the Big East, I think it was the finals that year. That was tough. And then the following year, we beat Providence by like 10 goals in the week, literally the week before, played them in the semifinals and lost by a couple goals. I mean, it just goes to show that you could, coaching is very important. Making adjustments from week to week can make a huge difference. And lacrosse is all about like thinking on your feet, because the game is so fast that if you're, like I said, if you're not able to adapt and adjust to the things that are happening, if you're doing the same thing over and over again, you're going to get figured out. And that kind of happened to us a little bit in both of those seasons, unfortunately. But I wouldn't say it's a regret, but I wish we had won those games. And unfortunately, I actually never played in an NCAA tournament. So that would be my biggest regret, is never playing in an NCAA tournament.
Even I got one in.
What's that?
Can I wait a second?
Even I got one in. Because Smalley always tells me I never won in college.
Well, hold on a second. Like, am I the only guy on this channel here that won a national championship?
Yes, you're the only one.
Vinny, thank you, Vinny. Thank you. Jay, can you believe this? Anyway.
How about this? St. John's basketball's rolling, Smalls.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I'm so happy, man. Vinny's coming this weekend. I think he's going to come. You going to be in?
Yeah, we're going up to see the 2 games. We're hoping it's 2 games. We're assuming they're winning the first one.
Where is the
Providence?
Oh, Providence. Nice. You get some good Italian food there, at least.
Yeah.
So, Jake, the other thing I wanted to tell you is I'd like to invite you somewhere, and I know it's going to be really hard every year, and I got a little treat for you, and I'll put it together. And if there's a guy that you want to put something together and you want something done, I'm the guy you ask, because I'll get it done. So I'm looking to invite J.J. Bear up this year for the Final Four, and hopefully maybe I get Jacob. I'm willing to fly you up.
Did he say J. Jalbert or JJ Bear?
JJ Bear, the Bear, Jay the Bear.
JJ Bear.
Bear. He's
Oh,
got
he said JJ Bear.
There's a new nickname for Jay, Jay the Bear.
I'm sorry.
Jay,
My dyslexia came in.
Jay lives on Long Island too now. I think he lives in Huntington now.
He's around.
Yeah.
I'd like to get these guys.
Boy, it's getting yelled at, Smalley. Boy, what's going on in that house, Smalley?
I don't know.
Where's the producer?
Did you leave your underwear in the bathroom floor again?
My God. My wife says that my sister. I'll forget. That's another story. But let me see what I'll say. Okay, so we're gonna wrap it up a little soon.
You got your
Jake.
shout outs.
Well, hold on before you, Jake. What's your go-to meal when you get home from a game?
That's a tough one.
Late night snack. It's a late night snack, actually. What was your late night snack you go
I gotta
to?
go Burger King or Qdoba.
Yeah.
Are you approaching?
You know I'm gonna plug in the business.
Favorite ice cream?
Cookies and cream.
Holy shit. That's unbelievable.
You don't look like he's been eating too much ice cream.
Exactly.
So, Jake, I want you to think about it. Maybe I'll have to call Jeff and John
I'm in.
to get you off for the Final Four. We can get them 2 days. We'll get Joe Bear, however you say, and him down there. Come on, Benny.
Yeah.
We got a couple of years left. We ain't got time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We got to roll.
Yeah.
But, Jake, it's been great, man. You were definitely a treat coming on, I got to say.
We're going to go watch Jake in April and doing his second marathon in Jersey, New Jersey, right around Hoboken area, right? Jersey City. Hoboken.
Yeah, doing the Jersey City on April 13th. And we're opening Dave's Hot Chicken. So it's gonna be a tough been training a while for this one, but I'm basically going straight from work right into this marathon.
No, I see it. I saw you up at
What are you looking to run? 10 minutes under 3 hours? I mean, what's the goal here?
I would like to do. I mean, I'm happy with under 3 hours. That's kind of where I'm pacing myself right now.
Just play that role. I got you.
But if I'm feeling good on it, I'm going to go for a 255 or a little less. But
wow. My brother ran it backwards. He ran it backwards. He's done about 4, and then he's done, I think, 2 Ironmans. They're crazy.
Yeah.
Swim is hard.
I haven't got into the swim yet, but a lot of my buddies are trying to convince me to get the bike and start swimming so I could do a triathlon.
They have mini ones in Long Beach and stuff, and the I think it's 2.4 mile swim, and it's always first because if it was last, everybody would cramp up in the water and die. That would it be, you know.
You're not really selling me on it, Smalls.
I hear you. Well, yeah.
That's the factor.
Jake, I would have to say between you, Jeff, and Joey, and even Jackie and Alexa, and seeing the family members who excelled in lacrosse through kids, high school, and even college. That's what kept me and Steven going in a lot of respects. You could lose interest, but with you guys playing, we can never lose interest. And it was always great watching you guys down in the pit in high school, at Schreiber, how you guys dominated. And I always proudly tell anybody who listen that there are only 2 sets of three brothers that were All-Americans in high school in Nassau County. The Engelkey brothers, Bobby, Norman, and Thomas, and the Froccaro brothers, Jeff, Jake, and Joey. So that's quite
cool.
Benny, you did it, Benny.
Pretty select group.
You did it, Benny.
It kept us really involved in the game because it was so much fun watching you guys. It's always, listen, we still like watching, but it's always when you guys were playing, we really had interest in it.
Yeah,
it was like,
all right, I'll give my shout out.
I'll come out of retirement for summer league. Maybe I'll play summer league game.
That's what I like. Yeah.
Well, I was thinking about it. In a couple of years, Johnny Boy's coming out of Chaminade. He's, we'll have to give it. He's going to be my shout out later because I want to talk about him a little bit. But
he's doing great.
We at least did have a little fun playing indoor and all. We did play for the Whitmore team and won a championship there in Denton Avenue. But I wish I could have had more years with you. Steven being 10 years younger than me, really, guys say, wow, you played so long. But the truth is, I played because Steven was playing. He dragged me there, He wanted me to play, so I didn't want to let him down. So I always played, and I enjoyed it. It was fun for me to play with my brother, but it was also fun playing with my nephews. So
Awesome.
I feel the same as well. You guys are the best. You taught me so much, and I feel
I'll
the
do
same
the
too
shout
about
out.
my
I'll do the
brother.
last shout out here.
Oh, wait, so let's do the shout outs. We get to us shout outs.
We
I'll
shout
do my
out.
shout out. All right.
And so I'll let you go. You go first, Smalls. Go ahead.
It's the whole Froccaro family. The whole, from the grandma to the grandpa, to go all the way back to the grassroots, to Vinny and all you guys, to his mom and the ladies, Jeff and John, how they got these guys all going. And I got to say, the nicest family I ever met. The nicest family I ever met. Jake, if you ever get a chance and you're sitting down, write your parents a letter because they'll read it every day. Your father and your mother, they never missed a game. My father was like that. Never missed a game to a kid. I think your father flew to like Villanova. When Vinny was telling me he flew twice 1 week or something. Up and down in 2 days to Villanova.
It's unbelievable how my dad made it to, and my mom made it to every single game.
They never missed a game. I said it's unbelievable. So shout out to your family. It's all about family. You guys are phenomenal. So shout out to Froccaro's. God bless. Go ahead, Vinny.
I'm going to give Johnny Boy Balsamo Jr. at Chaminade a shout out. He had a good weekend. Unfortunately, they split. They had a big win against McDonough on Friday, but they lost to Loyola Blakefield. Good road trip, though. Good learning lesson. Johnny was great. He had 4 goals, 2 assists in the first game, and I think he had 2 goals and two or 3 assists in the second game. So he's being productive. And I want to wish, shout out to the Chaminade varsity team and Jack Moran and the whole coaching staff that with our guy, Thomas O'Connell, that they have a great season. They got a tough schedule, but it's going to be fun.
Stevie Boy.
I'm gonna switch gears. I'm gonna go Bobby Courtside style. So my shout out, and Jake will know this because Jake was a member of. He's an alumni. He's a member of the team. So my shout out goes out to Port Washington High School basketball. Schreiber's team, high school basketball. They've won the Long Island Championship. First time since 1946.
Accomplishment.
I think Papa Smalley was in high school at that time, right?
Dad was at Chaminade.
So that's the last time Port won the Long Island Championship, and they won this year. They're alive on Thursday night. They're playing in the state semifinal. Tremendous, year. They're on a heater. They're on a run. They're feeling good. And 8 of the kids on that team, I've coached lacrosse and some of them basketball even. So I have a great connection to many of those kids and those families, and I'm proud of them. And my advice to them is keep it going. You're there. You're 2 games away from Hoosier.
It's unbelievable.
Here you go, Stephen.
They won already.
Here you go. The Port Washington 1945-46 team. The last time they won.
Mr. Nuzzleys, we used to hear about this because
that's cool.
I used
That's
to
cool.
this team
the
on
ice
the
house.
ice truck all the time.
There he is, Mr. Nuzzleys.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
He's right up behind the coach there. Yeah.
Wow.
Amazing history, right? Took all those years, but they finally got one.
And they were close, they were close a couple times, but now, I knew when they played, I was at the game, Vinny was there too, when we were watching them play Chaminade that night, and they pulled away from Chaminade, and I was like, I'm like, this team's good, they're big, they got big guys, they're skilled, they can shoot the 3, listen, now, they've won already, let's face it. But, you play Thursday night.
Take it as far as you can.
Take it as far as you can go.
That's amazing, man, when you think about it.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's my shout out. Good luck to
Jake. You got a shout out, Jake?
Other than family, you can pick other than family.
I'll shout out my parents again. They never missed a game. My mom and dad, they were the best. I'll also shout out I always go family. Smalley knows this. But I'll shout out my sister and my cousin Alexa, who were just inducted this past fall to the Schreiber Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Both unbelievable athletes. I always say the girls in the family are the best athletes.
Yeah.
Well, so those are my shout outs.
I'm quite certain that you'll be going in there shortly too.
Hey, Vinny, somebody called me today to get to the Hall of Fame. I don't want to say the real name, but CR, don't say it online here. He wants to get in. Who is that again? The CR guy. They want to get him as a contribution or contribute. You know who he is. He goes to Metzger's box. We know him. He goes to St. John's games. A skinny guy, 81 years old.
What are you saying?
The,
CR.
you know what it is. What's his real name?
Al.
Al Blau, right? Al Blau wants to get in. Al
Hodish. No, he doesn't.
Yeah.
Listen.
So you're going to get a phone call. Help him out, Benny. Come on, help him out. Well, Jake, good seeing you, bro.
Thanks
You're
for
the
having
king,
me
man.
on.
The king, we look up to you, man.
Amazing surprise.
This podcast is blowing up too.
Yeah,
Jake, you're all we got, Jake.
Well, Jake, if you put it out there, more people will come on.
You guys have some amazing. You guys have some unbelievable guests. I was saying that to my dad the other day. I said, "Have you ever listened to the podcast? They got some unbelievable guys on there."
Yeah, wait till you see.
Post it, Jake. Come on, make us famous, Jake. Post us on one of your things.
I don't think I have any pull to make you guys famous.
All right,
we love you, Jake. Give him a hand, Jake Froccaro.
We'll kick off games. We'll be back next week. Enjoy this weekend. See if we can get you some outgoing music.
All right, I'll see you guys.
Outgoing music, ingoing music. All right, guys.
Make sure Jake uploaded.
I
Jake jumped off.